What happens when America's favorite movie star sits across from daytime television's most beloved host, and everything falls apart right before the cameras? The air inside Studio 6B was so tense you could almost hear it hum. Sandra Bullock adjusted herself in the familiar guest chair, facing Kelly Clarkson with her signature warm smile. What was supposed to be a fun, light-hearted interview to promote Sandra's newest film quickly turned into one of the most awkward and talked-about moments in daytime television history. Before we get into what exactly went down during this fiery exchange, make sure you hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments what you think actually sparked this uncomfortable showdown. The Kelly Clarkson show had always run like a well-oiled machine. Kelly's easygoing personality and genuine curiosity usually made even the most camera-shy guests open up without hesitation. Sandra Bullock, known for her charm, humor, and down-to-earth energy, seemed like the perfect guest for what was supposed to be a friendly chat about her latest project. The production team had their notes ready, expecting another feel-good episode that would leave both the live audience and viewers at home smiling. "It's so wonderful to have you here, Sandra," Kelly began with her trademark cheerfulness, the studio lights bouncing off her grin. "You look absolutely glowing. There's something different about you lately, and I think everyone here can see it." Sandra smiled politely, but shifted slightly in her chair. "That's sweet of you to say, Kelly. Thank you." Kelly leaned forward eagerly, the same energy that had made her such a hit with audiences radiating from her every word. "Come on now, you've got to tell us. Is it the new film? A new love in your life, maybe? Everyone's wondering what's got you shining like this." For the first time, a flicker of tension appeared on Sandra's face. Her jaw tightened just enough for the cameras to catch it. "I'm here to talk about the movie, Kelly. It's a project that means a lot to me. Something I've worked on for 3 years, and I think people will really relate to it." Sensing that this might be the perfect setup for a personal reveal that would make great TV, Kelly pressed forward. "Of course. But you know, Sandra, people love you like family. They've followed your career from Speed to Miss Congeniality to your Oscar win. They feel like they know you. And when they see you happy, they want to share that joy with you." Sandra's smile stiffened. "I appreciate that," she said, her tone cool but calm. "But some things are meant to stay private. I'm sure you understand that better than anyone, Kelly." The remark dropped into the studio like a spark in a gas-filled room. Kelly's smile wavered, her eyes flashing with something sharp for a moment. It wasn't lost on anyone what Sandra was referring to. Kelly had built much of her show's success on her openness about personal struggles. "Of course I understand privacy," Kelly replied, her tone still smooth but with a hint of steel beneath it. "But I also think there's a difference between being private and being intentionally distant with people who have supported you all these years." Sandra leaned back slightly, raising an eyebrow. "Distant? Kelly, I came here to promote a movie. I didn't realize my personal life was part of the deal." "It's not about requirements," Kelly said quickly, though the edge in her voice was hard to miss. "It's about connection. It's what makes people care about what you're sharing with them." The studio audience began to feel the change in energy, the lighthearted mood evaporating. Even the laughter faded as everyone realized something wasn't right. Sandra's publicist, seated just off camera, looked visibly anxious. "Connection," Sandra repeated, her voice dripping with irony. "Is that what we're calling intrusive questions now? Because it doesn't feel much like connection. It feels like prying." Kelly's face flushed. "Sandra, I'm not trying to pry. I'm just trying to have a genuine conversation, the kind that people tune in for. And what if I don't want to have that kind of conversation?" Sandra asked, her tone sharper now. "What if I just want to talk about my work? About the cast, the director's vision, the message behind the story?" Kelly hesitated. "We can talk about all that too," she said, though it was obvious she wasn't letting go of the personal angle. "But Sandra, you have to admit you're being a little closed off today. Your team told us you'd be open to discussing your personal happiness." Sandra's expression hardened. "My team said what exactly?" "Because I can assure you nobody on my team promised access to my personal life." A hush fell over the studio. Even the camera crew looked uneasy. Kelly, realizing she'd pushed too far, tried to recover. "I didn't mean it like that. I just thought, with the way you've been glowing lately—" "There's that word again," Sandra interrupted sharply. glowing. What exactly are you trying to get me to say, Kelly? If you have something specific in mind, just ask me directly instead of dancing around it like this is some kind of gossip segment. Kelly froze. The color drained from her face as she glanced toward her producers for help, but they were just as stunned. "I'm not trying to trick you," Kelly said, her voice smaller but still firm. "I just don't understand why you're being so defensive about what should be a happy topic." Defensive? Sandra leaned forward, her eyes locking onto Kelly's. "How would you feel if someone kept asking questions about something you weren't ready to share? Would that make you defensive too?" The challenge hung in the air. Kelly looked trapped, torn between her role as the host and her growing irritation. She finally found her voice again. "You know what, Sandra? I think I'd handle it with more grace. I'd remember that the people asking questions are the same ones who helped build my career." The words hit Sandra like a slap. Her eyes widened slightly, her head tilting in disbelief. "Grace," she repeated softly, her tone deadly calm. "Are you really lecturing me about grace right now, Kelly?" Kelly stiffened, but she didn't back down. "I'm saying there's a line between being private and being rude to someone who's trying to celebrate you." "Celebrate me?" Sandra's laugh was sharp and humorless. "This doesn't feel like celebration. It feels like interrogation. It feels like you came in with a story you wanted to tell about me and you're mad that I'm not playing along." By now, the audience was visibly uncomfortable. Some shifted in their seats, whispering quietly. The producers frantically motioned for a commercial break, but Kelly ignored them. "My story?" Kelly shot back. "I don't have a story, Sandra. I just have a show where people share their lives with an audience that loves them." "Then why won't you let me talk about my film?" Sandra demanded, her voice rising. "Why does every question have to dig into my private life? Why are you treating me like I'm some reality TV contestant?" Kelly leaned forward, her own voice rising now. "Because your personal life is what makes people relate to you, Sandra. It's what makes them care about your movies. You can't just come in, plug a project, and leave without giving anything real." "Anything real?" Sandra repeated incredulously. "Kelly, this entire setup is fake. These lights, these cameras, this conversation. It's all for show. Don't lecture me about realness when everything here is staged for entertainment." That remark hit Kelly hard. Her voice faltered. "I don't use scripts, Sandra. I ask questions because I'm curious about you. I care about who sits in that chair." Sandra stared at her, and for a moment it seemed like she might soften. But then her expression hardened again. "Then that makes this worse, Kelly, because if you really care, you'd respect my boundaries. You'd ask about what I'm comfortable sharing, not what you think will make good TV." Kelly's hands tightened around the arms of her chair. "Boundaries? Sandra, you agreed to come on the show. What did you think that meant?" "I thought it meant we'd have a respectful conversation about my work," Sandra snapped. "I didn't think it meant I'd be ambushed on live television." Kelly's eyes widened. "Ambushed? I would never ambush someone. Then what do you call this?" Sandra shot back. "What do you call it when someone keeps pushing after being told no over and over?" Kelly looked lost for a second, her voice trembling. "I call it doing my job. I call it trying to give our audience an honest moment. I call it caring enough to want to know the real you.